Welcome everyone to tonight's Thursday night webinar for RDA, and I'm really pleased to say we're joined today by Harry Hall. Last year we were Harry Hall's Charity of the Year, and they helped us raise an amazing amount of money and supported us on our social media as well. And today Rachel Bowles and Georgie Starkey have kindly agreed to join us to talk about fundraising campaigns and how to engage with new and existing audiences. So I'm going to pass over to Rachel and Georgie in one moment. If anybody has any questions to ask, we'll ask them at the end, and please use the chat function because that would be wonderful. Thank you. Over to you, Rachel and Georgie.
Thanks, Randy. Hello, everyone. And firstly, thank you so much for inviting us to be part of this. We were really quite pleased when we got the invitation through. And as Randy mentioned, last year the RDA were one of Harry Hall's charity partners. They were one of three, and we had a really fantastic year working with them. And we hope to be doing lots more with them in the future. But this evening we haven't got a huge amount of time, and it really, we're trying not to try and do death by PowerPoint, but just take you through how we chose the charity partners, and then Georgie will talk to you more in detail from a social media point of view. So really tonight is about fundraising campaigns to engage with new and existing audiences. So hopefully you can now see the next slide. So these are the things that we're going to talk about this evening, is how we work with our charity partners from a Harry Hall point of view, the fundraising ideas that Harry Hall have, where they come from, and how we make them commercial. Why that's important is that Harry Hall is an online retailer that sells membership and sells insurance. So everything that from a campaign point of view, it has to have a commercial aspect to it. Will it drive traffic? Will it drive revenue? And then from a charity point of view, will that then help the charities? Georgie will talk to you in more detail about how to use social media to engage with new and existing audiences, and then we'll give you some points to consider at the end of the session. So I hope it will be helpful for you. So how did we start to use our charity partner selection? So before 2021, we just worked with one charity partner, and that was a charity partner that were introduced to us, and they became our charity partner. And it was one day, Georgie and I often like to spend some time out of the office and just talk about, what do our customers want? What do our audience want? Is this the right charity for us? And we were having a cup of coffee, and actually the idea, it was inspired by a supermarket. And that supermarket is Waitrose. So if anybody ever shops at Waitrose, you'll know you get the little green tokens. And as you walk out of the store, you get to choose which box your token goes into, which will help that local charity. So that's where the inspiration came from. Why don't we let our customers, our audience, choose the charities that they want us to support? So towards the end of 2020, we launched the Nominate Your Charity. Originally it was just going to be one, but then the nominations were huge. So we extended it to 3 charity partners. We then took a short list of 10, and we went back to our audience, back to our customers, and said, these are the final 10, now please vote. Whilst all of this was going on, I'd already made contact with RDA, and you guys did such a great job at getting your supporters to vote for you and nominate you again. So it was really wonderful. I think it was Christmas Eve 2020, when I had the first proper conversation to say, brilliant news, the RDA is now one of Harry Hall's charity partners. We had such a wonderful year working with the RDA. Brooke were also part of that. And I think there's been some quite nice relationships being formed already from that. So how did we do it? I mentioned sort of briefly then, we went through digital nominations. So we asked our audience to vote and to nominate on social, on Facebook. And then we also asked via our website. And we did that via emails out to Harry Hall customers, be it their members, be it non-members who shop with us, specifically asking them, so people could go onto the website, complete the form and say, I want the RDA to be a Harry Hall charity partner. So it was all done from a digital point of view. It was supported massively by email, by PR, so the Horse and Hound, Your Horse, Horse and Rider, all the equestrian media that you'd expect, along with some local sort of country magazines who do cover equestrian. And then we used our influencers. So Harry Hall has sponsored riders, some of them quite a big, one of them being Tom McEwen. I'm sure probably everyone's heard of Tom. To some of our smaller based influencers, but their reach in itself went pretty broad. So everybody was talking about, you know, you must vote for the Harry Hall charity partner. And it was a huge success, so much so that we've done it again, and it's now part of essentially the makeup of Harry Hall. Every year, every December, we go for that nomination. So we're hoping to get RDA back for 2023. That's our mission, because it was so wonderful working with you all. So from a fundraising campaign and campaigns that we worked on, specifically going to talk about last year when RDA was a charity partner for Harry Hall, and it was George's and I brainchild to get these selected charity partners, and then it was a case of learning about you, finding out about the fantastic work you do. So it's like, right, how do we get more people to donate? I'll just take you back one step for those who don't know how the donations work. Every time anybody shopped at Harry Hall, took out membership with Harry Hall, or took out an insurance, Harry Hall themselves donated to the charity pot, and that was then shared between the three charity partners. In addition, a customer had the opportunity to donate at the checkout as well. So there was two ways to donate, but I really wanted to put lots of money into the piggy bank for the charity partners. So I'll just talk to you about a couple of things that we did. We started off the year with a shop to win campaign, where there was some quite nice prizes, Harry Hall branded prizes or goodies that you can buy on Harry Hall, and you effectively get a raffle ticket. And at the end of that month, if your raffle ticket was pulled, you won that prize. And it just helped people come onto the website, shop a little bit more, but of course, every time they shopped, money went to the charities. So it raised awareness of what we were doing. Excuse me, I've got a tickle in my throat. I'm just going to have a glass of water. That worked relatively well for us. That was at the beginning of 2021. It was still a bit of an uncertain time with COVID. So then we had another campaign a few months later called Golden Ticket, and this really was, think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. These were prizes that equestrians would love to have but maybe couldn't quite afford. So I'm talking arena mirrors, a master wardrobe of rugs for your horse for the year. But the top prize was the Cheval Liberty trailer that Harry Hall bought. So somebody could come on, they could literally buy a hay net for like a couple of pounds. They'd get sent a golden ticket, and each week we made a draw and somebody won some amazing prizes. The big prize, the Cheval Liberty trailer, was the last prize that we drew, and amazingly nobody claimed it. So we drew the ticket. It was a bona fide customer, but they didn't come forward to claim. And we went on a huge search. We asked Horse and Hound to help us. We asked so many people to help us. Within 30 days, still no trailer had been claimed. We were all sitting in the office going, what are we going to do with this trailer? So the idea was that, well, why don't we sell charity raffle tickets? So we then sold a charity raffle ticket for £1. And this just went absolutely crazy. It lasted for about 10 days, and we sold over 9,000 charity raffle tickets. Every single charity raffle ticket that was sold, that all got divided between the three charity partners. And again, it got great coverage from the press, from our influencers. Everybody got really, it was such a great story. Somebody's going to win this £6,000 trailer for £1, and somebody did win it. A lovely lady from Scotland, who's a key worker, who just had to sell a horse box because she couldn't afford to go through the MOT. So it was a really lovely, quite magical story. The last thing that we did, not the last thing, but one of the things that we did throughout the year to really remind our audience, our customers, our shoppers, how much the charity partners mean to me, was that 3 times in the year, Harry Hall doubled the donations to the charity partner. So instead of it being 5p, it was 10p, and we did that 3 times during the year. And that was at really key times. So it was at peak trading, it was during Golden Ticket, and it was during Shop to Win. And that just really bumped up the coppers as well. So they were just some of the things that we did. It was, for us, it was about driving traffic, driving awareness. You know, how many people at the beginning of the year knew that the RDA was a Harry Hall charity partner. For sure, towards the end of 2020, 2021, a lot more people knew that, and a lot more people started to donate at the checkout. So it had a commercial aspect, it drove traffic to our website, and it obviously raised money for our charity partners. So that was it. That was a bit of a whistle-stop tour of just some of the things that we did last year, but I'm going to hand you over to Georgie now to talk more in depth about social media. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. So what I will talk about refers to organic social media, and what I mean by that is that it's not paid for or boosted in any way. The posts are truly organic. Now it's a bit of an endless topic, and I know we haven't got too long. So what I've tried to do is summarize the main points that flow through my head when I'm putting together campaigns for social media to get the most out of our audience. So we're going to mainly focus on two channels that Harry Hall has used over the years in the fundraising campaigns that Rachel mentioned. They are Facebook and Instagram. Other channels are of course available for you to use. These were the ones we used as that's where our core audience was based. Next slide, please, Rachel. So meeting the content needs of your existing audience. So you've already won over your audience. They follow you, they've done that active button to like your page. They've turned up to hear what you want to say. So sort of think about why they've maybe followed you in the first place. And tone of voice could be a reason for this. This is the character that your page comes out with through the words that you use. And it's very likely they followed you because they like what you have to say and how you've said it. So consistency here is key. And no matter what tone of voice you decide on, continue with it. And then we move on to the what, the wheres, the hows, the whos, the whens. All these things go through my mind when I'm putting together the campaigns on social media. So things like, how often do the audience need to hear from us on this? Is it once a week, daily, 3 times a week? And really the answer to this is there's no right or wrong. Again, it's consistency for your audience. The likelihood is as well, if they've followed you, they want to keep hearing from you. So try and just be as consistent as you can. And what will you post? What will it look like? What form will it take? Is it photo, text, video? And video is king at the moment. But if you're not confident using that form of content, don't worry too much about it. Text and photo is also great. I think the key is just having a good mix of content is more appealing. So you're feeding into the different media preferences of all your followers. And again, if you need to design some graphics for a campaign, Canva, for example, is a great design tool. It's also free to use. And, think about how you'll then communicate the campaign. Something Rachel and I do quite a bit is we'll talk to family, friends, people at work about it. Hearing what people say back to you will help you form how you can actually then communicate the campaign to a wider audience. And actually, it'll also mean people will come up with good questions for you that might be the type of questions you will get asked on social media. Something else to think of when it comes to campaigns are your graphics. Over 80% of social media users on Facebook are mobile users, and for Instagram it's pretty much near 100%. So just remember how easy it will be to read what you've put on a small mobile screen versus a computer. Something else we think about a lot as well is launching and how timely this is. What's going on in the wider world. Simple things such as, is it a bank holiday? Is it school holidays? Is there a big event going on? Will people be busy? Will they be around to see the social media posts? Pick times when your audiences are available. If you're posting at times they're not online, it will only disengage them and they won't see as much from you. So for example, we're always thinking, right, as equestrians, you generally check your phone first thing, but then you're up, you're walking the dog, you're doing the horses, you're whizzing on the school run, you're whizzing to work yourself. So that 7 to 9, 10 a.m. zone is probably completely out. Maybe we often post sort of 8, 9 p.m. when, generally equestrians have finally sat down for the day and are actually maybe scrolling through social media. So have a look at your page analytics to decide when actually the best time to post is. And then I like to use something called content buckets for my posts. So for example, when Harry Hall are in a campaign like the Golden Ticket, Shop to Win, not every post we put on social media will be about that campaign. It'll be a mix of the campaign, equestrian lifestyle, Harry Hall products, maybe a vet post, a blog post. We generally have about 3 to 4 sort of content buckets that you can keep rotating to keep your content interesting. Too much of one thing will definitely make your audience switch off. And then think about links as well. If you're putting a link into a particular campaign page, for Instagram, avoid putting the link in the post, because you'll, as a user, you can't click the post then, and it's extra effort to find the page. Make sure it's in your bio, and use a multiple link tool such as Linktree if you have got multiple links you want to put in there, and then your users can easily click that link and see multiple pages that you want them to go to. And in Facebook, you'll see on the graphic there, there's all these different options when you're creating a post. So if it's a fundraising one, use the raise money button there. So again, people don't have to go far to find your link. They can literally just click what's included in the post. And Bitly is a good one to use to shorten links as well. It makes links look a little bit neater rather than some can be really quite lengthy. And then the final tip for the existing audiences is we all want lots of likes, but don't get too caught up in how many likes one of your posts gets. And don't let these dictate whether your post or campaign has been a success or not. Sometimes with sort of fundraising campaigns, for example, shares are more valuable, and they are what will help your campaign spread in the end. So next slide, please, Rachel. So now we're going to talk about social media for new audiences. So next slide, please. So it's worth thinking about here who your ideal audience is and how you want to reach them. What social media channels do they use? Maybe it would be more posting on LinkedIn, or maybe you need to expand to Twitter, or maybe even TikTok. Have a think about all the different channels and how they can tie in. Or even, is there a local notable figure with a good social media following that you can approach to support your campaign? They could attract new audiences for you. We, as Rachel mentioned, use our brand ambassadors quite a lot to promote the campaigns that we have on the go. It just means that our campaigns get that extra little bit of reach beyond our own pages. And think of your campaign as a journey from the initial idea. So like Rachel had the initial idea, and then how do we use it to engage with our customers at every touch point? So with Golden Ticket, we had it running for a certain amount of time so that within the campaign, we could pick winners weekly, and then we could share their winning quote, their winning story, maybe a picture of them. So it reminded people about the campaign, and from a commercial point of view, it kept them shopping and it kept them coming back to us. It's also worth mentioning here that people need to see something on average, I think it's 7 to 12 times for it to really absorb into them and for them to take action. So when you're thinking of the length of your campaign, and especially how long it's going to be live on social media for, bear this in mind. We generally run our campaigns for about 4 to 6 weeks to give us a really good block to communicate it effectively. And then the final point with your existing audience, and one that people often forget about, is think about the posts that surround your campaign, especially if it's a launch. So if a new potential follower clicks on your social media page, what else are they going to see? What do you want them to know you for? So, for example, if we were doing a charity fundraising campaign and they might be a new customer to Harry Hall, I think, right, I want them to know that we do horse insurance. I want them to know that we do horseware and we do riderwear, and we have an online One Club community. I think if people can engage with you and see what you do, essentially people buy from people they like. So if they like the content that you've put out there, they're more likely to engage with you longer term. Social media is sort of your shop window, so it's your chance to pull them in using content you have. Next slide, please, Rachel. So just to summarize, some sort of points to consider based on what I've said, and then other ideas to bring in. Think how timely your posts will be, both in terms of the content and the times of day. And actually, how can you use other channels to support your social media to make it a truly successful multi-channel campaign? Are you or someone else lined up and ready to deal with the social media questions that could come off the back of it? And also, how will you wrap up the campaign and take it full circle so your audience knows that it's finished? And, you know, if there was maybe a prize at the end of it or a donation amount, you know, it's definitely worth communicating the winner or the final donation amount to sort of really wrap it up. And also, what does success look like? We often at the start of a campaign, Rachel and I will sit down and go, what do we want from social media for this? Is it however many new followers? Is it a certain reach? Is it actually revenue to the website through social media? Is it a fundraising figure? establishing this before you start can really help you have a good focus throughout the whole campaign. And that is everything from me. So I hope that's been helpful.
Yep, brilliant. And that is the end of our slides, Randy.
Okay, lovely. I'm just going to stop sharing screen.
Okay.
Lovely, and we're back on full screen now. And just inviting questions through the chat function. But while we're looking at questions through the chat function as well, it was interesting what you said, Georgie, about shares are more valuable. So do you normally start off by thinking about actually how we're going to increase the number of shares? Is that how you drive the campaign as well, in terms of when you're looking at non-organic activity? Are you looking at boosting your social media campaigns in order to drive those shares?
Yeah, we do boost some of our posts, but actually the way you can actually phrase some posts almost encourage the user to share them. And then, it works quite simply, I suppose. If I'm sharing a post from Harry Hall, then suddenly all my followers see it. And if someone else shares it, suddenly all their followers see it. So actually you can really gain momentum that way. And you'll actually get to way more people than likes will. So I think it's quite a good barometer to use. People often focus on likes or follow numbers, but we sometimes prefer shares. I think one thing Rachel always asks me is, but how many times is it shared? I think that's the sort of key, the key one in the team.
Excellent. And what's been the most successful tool? Has that been competitions have been more successful, like the golden ticket, in terms of sharing and actually getting the message out and gaining a new audience?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Sometimes we actually do clothing wins. So you could win an item of clothing or footwear or horseware or something. And they are traditionally the best performing posts. Because interestingly, the golden ticket style posts, they sometimes don't always require interaction on social media. So someone will see it and think, that's brilliant. And they'll actually go straight to our website. So they'll share it, but they won't necessarily interact more on the post. Whereas with a win style post, your general call to action is like and comment this post to enter. So that's where you would get more comments, which obviously then does promote your reach. And then they're tagging friends, which again promotes the reach. You do have to be careful with Facebook competitions that you're not actively saying the words share, tag and like to get people to enter. The Facebook algorithm doesn't really seem to like that in posts. So you have to be quite creative with how you say that. Maybe things like tell all your pals or drop a thumbs up on the post seem to work a bit better.
Excellent. And Rachel, what has, in your experience as well, what hasn't worked?
From a campaign point of view?
Yes.
Oh gosh, what hasn't worked? I guess all of them have worked. Some have just worked. Some have just been better than others. I think probably if we look specifically at last year, Shop to Win was a great campaign. There were some lovely prizes. I think, and it was interesting. It reminded me when George was talking about, is a social post, is it timely? And when I look back at Shop to Win, I don't think it was right. It was the right time to do it. It was, I think it was February that we did that. We were in, it was cold, it was lockdown. I think people were genuinely quite concerned about, are we ever going to get out of this? I think people were really starting to feel quite worried. February is always a bad time anyway, because you've got the bills from Christmas, the credit card bills are racking up after Christmas, and it's never a good, consumer confidence is always quite low in February. So probably from the campaigns last year that we did, even though Shop to Win was good, what I liked about Shop to Win was that it helped, because we talked so much about the charity partners. It really introduced the fact that we have these 3 charity partners. From a Harry Hall commercial revenue point of view, Shop to Win probably wasn't the best campaign we ever did. But then Golden Ticket, everything was getting a bit brighter, and Golden Ticket was phenomenal for us. Excellent.
And then, Georgie, one of the things you said, you normally run a campaign for 4 to 6 weeks. Within a space of 12 months, how many campaigns would you run?
I think it's on average, it does work out about 6 a year, I think, Rachel, if we were to look at it. Because there's a kind of running it, letting it bed in. People, you know, a lot of the time people need to understand a campaign as well. You need to sort of talk about it on social media, the website, email, quite a bit for people to sort of go, oh yeah, that is happening. And also to make it real. You know, sometimes our prizes are really quite epic, and it's just constantly reminding people that it's real, it's a proper campaign. And we often have a little sort of period of rest in between each campaign. So we don't just go from one to the next. We'll sort of have, correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel, but sort of 10 days, 2 weeks, if not a bit more in between, just to sort of reset and go again.
And the point about and really telling the story, the wrap up of a campaign. So with the charity raffle ticket, you know, we spent a lot of time talking to the lady who won the trailer for £1, finding about to write the story. We put her in the Harry Hall One Club magazine. You know, we to make it believable, because a lot of the time you'll see these competitions on Facebook, or you'll see and you don't think it's real. People, you know, you'll hear people say about the lottery as well. Does anybody actually ever win it? And so it's really, it's something that Georgie and I are really quite passionate about, is when you've got a good news, if somebody's won something and they're happy for that to be shared, you don't need to give the full name. Do that, because it makes you more believable for future campaigns to come if people can see a success story.
Excellent. And just one final question really is something that you said about how the partnership, the charity partnership, has been beneficial for Harry Hall as well, in terms of driving more commercial engagement. Have you seen that last over a period of time, or is it a very short burst? Or, you know, in terms of have you been able to engage with those new customers for a longer period of time?
It's a good question, Romney. And new customers, were they new because of the charity partnership? We don't know. We don't get that insight as to you know, we don't know where our customers come from. You know, did they see an advert in Horse and Hound? It's really hard to track unless you've done a specific Facebook post and they've then bought from that, or unless it's been a specific email and they've bought from that. But new customers coming into us, we don't know where they've come from. You know, is it word of mouth? Is it through an influencer? We don't know. I think from a brand reputation point of view, it's been superb having the charity partners. It's definitely given us something more to talk about. That the majority of the guys at Harry Hall are equestrians, and for those who aren't equestrians, they still have a real deep care for equestrians. So I think there's been lots of benefits from it. Is that as a business, we've learned more about fantastic work that the equestrian charities do. And for sure, I think it's helped brand awareness for Harry Hall, and it's also probably helped with brand credibility. Did it bring us new customers in? I don't know. Our finance director sort of says, "Gosh, it's quite a lot of money we're giving away," and I'm just like, well, it's for a really good cause. But he's the finance director. So yeah, it's a really hard one to answer on, because we don't have the metrics on it.
Wonderful. Well, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Rachel and Georgie for joining us today, and it was very informative and really helpful. Thank you for anyone viewing the webinar as well. And on that note, we shall say good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.